Hey,
Hi,
Mike.
Heather.
How are you?
Fine, and yourself?
Doing good, thanks.
Looking good?
Thank you very much. What's new with you?
Not too much. Before I go any further, I want to apologize for not for the cancellation last week, and I forgot to mention the cancellation on my forum. So I apologize to everyone who showed up last week. That was entirely my fault. So please forgive me. So let's see what's new with me. Not too much. I've still been hiking. I'm still on a magic kick. I really have a pretty like I could do like a 3 hour magic show. No, I have so many magic tricks. So
Are you going to do one of those on YouTube?
yes,
Nice.
yes. In fact, I have a cute girl coming over on
Oh,
Sunday who's going to be my subject, my volunteer, and I'm going to do a bunch of videos where I'm doing magic tricks for her. And
cool.
yeah, so look forward to those.
Yay. I can't wait to see. That's going to be fun.
Yeah, yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
So,
Um,
do you have any mountain trips scheduled or anything fun scheduled coming up?
I'm doing a 3 day kayak trip on Lake Mead in February.
Oh, 3 days. Wow.
Yeah, I've done 3 day trips. No, I did one 3 day trip from Hoover Dam. Well, I should say from Willow Beach to Laughlin, and then I did another trip that was supposed to be 3 days, but we had to cut it short to two because of weather. Um, yeah, so I really enjoy these trips. I think I'm going to do it in a canoe this time. But yeah, but once we do this trip, I will have completed all of Lake Mead in kayaks, and
Wow.
after that, I'll either have to go north of the Grand Canyon or south of Laughlin, or Lake Powell. I would love to do a long distance Lake Powell trip. But the problem with
Um,
Lake Powell is there's so few marinas that either I would have to, go return to the same place I started, or it would have to be a really long trip, like 2 weeks.
have you ever been to Lake Havasu? I've heard their waters. I mean, it's just beautiful up there, and I was wondering if you've ever done that.
Lake Havasu. So that's yeah. I have not kayaked there, but if I do continue my journey south of Laughlin, I would be in Lake Havasu, like the next day.
Cool, right on. I don't know if you could kayak it, but I've never been there, so I don't know. I've only seen it from pictures. So
Yeah, I don't see why you couldn't kayak it.
okay, so shall we get to the questions? Do you want to do a trivia question first, and then we'll get to the viewer questions?
Yes, we are going to be celebrating Betty White today with Golden Girls trivia.
Sweet.
So I would ask that anyone who read my newsletter today abstain from the contest because I asked
Mm.
the same questions there. So, and hopefully there's some people in the audience who are old enough and to know the show and like it. So here we go. What were the last names of the four major characters? And as a reminder, their first names were Dorothy, Rose, Blanche, and Sophia.
Okay, so if you guys know their last names, put it in the chat, and we will get to it here in just a second. Our first question comes from our viewer, Paul Andrews, and he says, what are your thoughts on Binion's reality show, Casino Confidential? Is it real? Is it fake? Is it lame? What do you think about it?
I've never seen it, to be honest with you. I mean, I'll
I've
be
never
honest, I've
seen it
never even
either.
heard of it. Have you?
I've never seen it either. I heard Binions had a reality show, but I think that was a while ago. I think Green Valley Ranch had a reality show. I think the D and Circa are doing a reality show, but I've never watched it. Um,
The one
I
at the
don't know
Green Valley
why.
Ranch I thought was quite good. I thought it was quite realistic and not
Yeah,
staged like most of them are. And I was featured on an
no
episode of the
way.
Casino reality show that took place around the Golden Nugget, but it never aired. And I'm not sure if it was because I was so bad or the show canceled.
No, it's really hard to get those kind of shows up and going, and I think people have tried before, but it is
Mhm.
difficult.
Mhm.
Yeah, I need to watch that. I'll look it up. I'll see where I can find it, and hopefully it's on Netflix.
Hopefully, Casino Confidential.
Is on Netflix, yeah.
Okay. Hopefully.
Hopefully.
Yeah, speaking of
Okay.
Netflix, I've been enjoying season 4 of Cobra Kai.
Nice. That has 100% Rotten Tomatoes rating. That's pretty amazing.
It does?
Yeah,
Wow.
100%.
Hmm.
I watched season one, and after I saw that it had 100% rating, I'm like, I need to watch season two, three, and four. I need to catch
Mm-hmm.
up on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so far, I mean, I don't like to be negative, but so far season 4, I think, has been a little bit slow and not as good as the other 3 seasons. But as long as you've watched the first 3, you should, definitely stick with it.
And if it's slow because it's building up to something, like that's okay, as long as
Yeah.
it's not just slow and it's not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen any of The Witcher on Netflix?
No.
No, I'm loving The Witcher. Season two is out, and I really love it.
The Witcher. What's the
The
thrust of
Witcher.
that show?
It's a video game, and it's a fantasy one. It's basically a witcher is someone who kills monsters, and he is involved with a witch who has to raise a girl, not their daughter, but a daughter, and she ends up being like the most powerful magician in the history of that realm. Oh, spoiler alert, by the way, if anybody is watching it and you didn't know that. Yeah, so it's really good.
All right. Well, let's get back to the gambling questions.
That sounds good because I don't see an answer yet to your trivia. So, yeah, let's do one more question and give people a little more time.
Okay, I'm going to give you guys one more Golden Girls trivia. If no one gets this, I'm just going to forget Golden Girls for the show.
Okay,
And
sounds good.
this is an easy one. Where was Rose from? Like she was always
Oh,
telling
that's it?
stories of her hometown, which was.
Okay, so if you guys know, put it in the chat. I thought it was going to be a lot longer than that. If you guys know the answer, and we are still waiting for answers to do you know their last names? So put those in the chat if you know. And while we are waiting, our next question comes from Paul Andrews, who says, I just learned that you may choose to double down in 6 to 5 blackjack when you are dealt a blackjack. Is this a good strategy, and how does the house edge change?
Yeah, somebody just asked me that by email the other day. Yes, you are absolutely allowed to double down on a blackjack, but unless you're a card counter, you never should. And this includes if a blackjack pays 6 to 5. Even then, you should still take the 6 to 5 against anything, including a 5 or a 6. So doubling down on a blackjack is a very foolish idea. Now, I will add that in double exposure, which nobody deals anymore, you should double down on a blackjack sometimes. For example, in that game, you would double down on a blackjack against, say, a 16, because their blackjacks pay only even money, and a 16 is really bad.
That's
So,
pretty amazing.
yep, so that's about as far as I can take that one. And sorry for the phone ringing. I'm just going to let it go.
You're a popular man.
It's a junk call, 90% chance.
Okay, so Jim has guessed Minnesota. Is it
That's the
Minnesota?
state is right, but I'm looking for the city and state.
Okay. And we don't have anyone that said the city. We had just Minnesota as the answer, and no one yet on the last names.
Okay, guys, you guys let me down on the Golden Girls. That was a very funny show. You don't know what you were missing. If you're ever bored or say there's a pandemic or something and you have nothing else to do, check out the Golden Girls. But the answer to where Rose is from, the full answer is St. Olaf, Minnesota. And the names of the 4 main characters are Dorothy Zabornak, Rose Nyland, Blanche Devereaux, and Sophia Petrillo.
Okay. I never would have guessed that.
Okay. Ask me another gambling question, please.
Sounds good. Next one also comes from Paul Andrews, who says, I just learned in Texas Hold'em that there's something called running it twice. Can you please explain why this is done and if there's any value in agreeing to this?
I um, I think what this is what's a good example? I I think that maybe if it all comes down to the river, I think what they might do is if everyone agrees is they say, okay, let's take this pot and divide it into two pots of equal amounts, and we're going to deal two different river cards. And to determine two different winners. So that's a way of lowering the volatility. I'm not 100% sure that's what it means. If I'm wrong, someone in the peanut gallery, please correct it. But can I explain why this is done and if there's any value in agreeing to it? The only value is reducing volatility. The expected value remains the same, no matter what your position is, you know, within the hand at that point. So that's about as far as I can take that one.
Sounds good. Okay, so do you want to do, what if we did Shackleford trivia? Like, what's your favorite food? If you guys know his favorite food, put it in the chat. What's your favorite magic trick?
It's hard to pick just one. Okay, I have a magic trick. I would love to do magic tricks for you guys, but it really would not work in this medium very well. But I have a magic trick where it appears, this is more of like not a mind reading trick, but like a reading the future trick, where it would appear like you can roll dice and I will like predict the total before you roll them. You roll them and I'm right, as well as picking Scrabble tiles. I will know exactly which ones you will pick, as well as drawing a card. Like everything you do, I get right. But again, if I did it in this medium, you really need like live subjects to do it. So, but like I said earlier, I am going to, starting on Sunday, be making some magic trick videos, and
Nice.
you guys can. I'll let you guys know when those are out.
Have you ever thought about doing a Las Vegas seminar or convention where you talk about magic tricks?
Well, I wouldn't feel qualified to do that because there's so many much better magicians than me. And if a legitimate magician went to this, he would say, this guy is just an amateur at best. So I don't want to hold myself up too high. Now, I will say that I can go to any mentalism show in Vegas and know exactly how every trick is done. And it's because I have, you see the same tricks over and over, and I think about it. Sometimes I do a little research, but I would say that half the tricks that you see in mentalism shows in Vegas, I can do. Maybe I would do a simplified version of them, but I think that I'm, getting kind of decent at it. And, who knows? I mean, I say I will work for food. I have never been paid to do magic tricks, but I have had people invite me to dinner if I would do a little magic show. And that is a deal I happily accept.
That's fun. That's a lot of fun.
Yep.
Okay, so back to gambling questions. Our next question comes from Technics. When playing blackjack and the count is good, does having fewer players at the table increase the EV?
It doesn't increase the expected value per hand, but it does lower the expected value per time. So any casino game, how much you can expect to win or lose is a function of the house advantage or player advantage in this case, times the average bet times the hands per hour. And if other players are at the table, it lowers the hands per hour, thus lowers the EV in a game where you have a player advantage. However, the flip side of that coin is if you are a recreational player, then you are playing against a house advantage. So you can expect to lose less at a full table. But then again, that's kind of obvious.
Okay. Good to know.
Okay, next question.
Next question is, oh, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everyone. Happy 2022.
Yay, it's 2022. Fingers crossed it's not part like 2 to 2020, Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed for a better year than the last two.
Yeah. Next question is, this is an easy one. What is the difference between a kayak and a canoe?
A kayak is a lot smaller. A kayak is almost like something that you wear rather than a boat. I mean, it's tricky to get in them and it's tricky to get out of them. You can't put a whole lot of stuff in them. But the upside to a kayak is that they're faster and it doesn't require as much energy to, shall we say, paddle a kayak a mile. So canoes, meanwhile, are much more comfortable. You get to sit on something like basically a bench. You can put a lot of stuff in them, so they're very comfortable. The only downside is that because they're bigger, they're a little slower, and if it's windy, a kayak is much more likely to. I mean, a canoe is much more likely to tip over than a kayak. So, I think I mentioned that the first 2 multi-day kayak trips I did were in kayaks, but if we're projected to have average or better wind conditions this trip in February, I'm going to try it in a canoe.
Have you ever fallen out of a canoe or a kayak in the middle of the river?
Yes. When several years ago, I did a rafting trip of the Middle Fork of the Snake River in Idaho. Mm-hmm. And they would let us, they brought along some kayaks and they would let us use them. And I volunteered to use one in a pretty difficult section of rapids. And it's not that basically, I don't want to tell the whole story, but basically I fell out of the kayak and I couldn't get back in it and I lost the paddle. So the guide pulled me into his raft and it was a little embarrassing. But that's the only time. On one of the 2 kayak trips, the one from Willow Beach to Hoover Dam, somebody else capsized in her kayak. But fortunately she was close to shore and managed to bail it out and get back in. But we were all very worried for her because, we were waiting a long time and we knew she was last. And, but I started walking up the river and I was about ready to ask to borrow someone's phone to call 911, but then she came along.
Oh, wow.
Yep. So that's about as far as I can take that one.
Okay. Next question is from Iov, and they ask, how many deviations in blackjack have you memorized and how many would you recommend to memorize?
Okay, good question. When I was a more active counter, I started out by memorizing everything that was in Revere's strategy, which was probably about 40 numbers. But then I switched to the plus minus, and there I pretty much used the illustrious 18, which is the 18 most important index numbers to memorize. However, I haven't counted in a long time, and if you were to quiz me on what they were, I would probably get a D on your test. But I recommend just the top 18, which are on my site, published with permission from Don Schlesinger. Look up the illustrious 18.
Very nice. And if you guys don't know already, his website is wizardofodds.com. So go check it out. Okay, so our next question, and actually before we go on to the next question, if you guys have a question that you want Michael Shackelford to answer, please put it in the chat and we will get to it in the order that it is received. Our next question is from Max. In Blackjack, is it possible with basic strategy to play with advantage if
Playing rated.
if play rate? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Probably a lot of counters play completely above the radar using, sitting for a long time and befriending the casino management and accepting all their comps and all the niceties. Now, the downside to that is you can't play as aggressively, but the upside is you don't have to try as hard. You can, sit and play and enjoy as much as you like. However, I would say it probably cuts down your advantage by about 50%. And most counters probably want to play more aggressively and in a hit and run style. But no, absolutely, the answer is yes. In fact, Ian Anderson, who wrote Turning the Tables and Burning the Tables in Las Vegas, was a above the radar kind of player who did play that style.
Not actual burning, like no fire involved.
No, it's just a figure of speech. Like I'm gonna, burn up the tables, like do really well.
Oh man, knowing Las Vegas, some people would take that literally.
I'm gonna burn the town tonight. It kind of just means like I'm gonna.
Okay, so our next question comes from Andre. I wanted to ask you, if possible, how should I calculate the odds in blackjack if I should hit on a 16 against a 10? Should I calculate my odds of a bust versus a dealer's odds of having a 17 through 21?
Okay, I have 2 videos on YouTube where I show, starting with a completely blank spreadsheet, how to analyze blackjack. And there's no easy way to even explain a situation like 16 against a 10, because if you hit that, there's 5 possible outcomes for you, and then there's 5 possible outcomes the dealer could get. So you have to memorize all 25, and then you have to compare that with standing. So the way I do it in my video is I use a spreadsheet that basically recursively starts down where the outcome is obvious, like a 17 or against an 18, and then you use averages from there to see what could happen in any given state before that. You look at the expected value for all possible decisions. And now, however, I do use an infinite deck assumption in that. However, an infinite deck assumption is really not that different than 6 decks. I think it only will give you an incorrect answer in 2 different plays, and those 2 plays are extremely borderline. So that's how I would do it. And again, check out my YouTube videos on how I did it in Excel.
And if people were going to your YouTube channel and they were to search for those videos, do you remember what the title is or what the name of it is that they could search for?
Okay, so the name of my YouTube channel is The Odds Must Be Crazy, or you can just search on my name. And I also have a listing of all my videos. If you go to wizardofodds.com and then click on videos, and I don't remember what I titled these videos, but if you look, you would find them.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good.
Okay, next question.
I feel so weird not doing trivia. I really enjoyed the trivia in between the questions.
Yeah, me too. If you guys have a trivia topic you want to suggest for the future, I'm all ears.
I have a question. It's not a trivia question per se, but I was just wondering, do you have a New Year's resolution or?
Not really. I've never been big on making them. I feel that people should be trying to improve themselves all the time, not just think to doing it once a year. I always make a commitment to exercising and staying healthy. Certainly, I'm going to stick with that. In fact, I'm planning to. I haven't signed up yet, but I'm really close to deciding to do the Vegas Half Marathon next month.
Wow.
And
what does that involve?
Running 13.2 miles. No, 13.1. The only thing that sets me back is it's kind of expensive, but it's a goal to work towards, and furthermore, it's more fun running when you're doing it with a lot of other people. In fact, just today I ran 8 miles, so I'm sure I could get up to 13 in a month and a half.
That's pretty impressive.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know if I could run one. I'd be like at half a mile and I'd be like, is it over yet? Can I stop? Okay, so our next question comes from Plagathon. Sorry, I totally butchered your name. Are Hard Rock Casino surveillances linked between its properties? If I was to flat bet in Atlantic City, can I still use a player's card in their other properties?
Yeah, the short answer to that is I don't know. With a lot of these casinos, and I don't know if this is true of the Hard Rock, but the various different Hard Rocks may have absolutely nothing to do with each other. It may just be a branding thing that people buy for their casino, but it's completely independently run. And
like a franchise.
Yeah, exactly. So, in the case of the Hard Rock, I tend to think that is their business model, but I'm really not sure. So yeah, again, could be yes, could be no, but I just don't know in that case.
Okay. Our next question comes from okay, this isn't a question, it's more of a statement. What's the difference between a cheap person and a canoe?
A canoe sometimes tips.
Yep, cheap people don't tip.
Yeah, the way that joke usually goes is, what's the difference between a card counter and a canoe?
Oh, okay. There you go. I like that one too.
Card counters are notorious for not tipping.
Our next question comes from Emmanuel. Are there any programs that play perfect blackjack as cards are removed from the shoe?
Sure, there's one on my website.
Oh, okay.
So go to games and click blackjack. And no, I think it's called the Blackjack card counting trainer, and that one will correct you. First of all, it'll basically ask what system you're using. And no, wait a minute, I haven't used this in a long time. No, what this does is it will do a perfect calculation of the expected value of any given situation according to the cards left in the shoe at that time. And you might play basic strategy on that, and it will correct you sometimes, because if you did know the perfect composition of the shoe and the exact odds as if you had a computer, it's like playing against that.
Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha.
So look for my card counting trainer.
Very cool. You have so many interesting things on your website.
Thank you. I've had 25 years to build it up to where it is now. But yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so our next question comes from Old Seven. What is the probability of a point followed by a 7 out?
Okay, well, let's work that out here. So the probability of rolling a 4 or a 10 is 6 and 36. And then if that happens, the probability of a 7 out is 2 and 3. And then we do the same thing for a 5 or a 9. So the probability of either of those is 4 and 36, but we multiply that by 2 because there's 2 different points, 5 and 9. And then the 6 and the 8. So there we're at 5 and 36. And there the probability of 7ing out is 6 in 11. So you can ask me another question while I work this out.
Okay. So someone suggested doing trivia on the history of gambling. I like that idea.
Okay, I'll keep that under advisement.
Cool. And then do you have any political topics you don't avoid?
I certainly can talk all day about Social Security because I was a Social Security actuary for 10 years, and I will talk about that. I will talk about politics if it relates to gambling. It's no big secret that I lean towards being a libertarian in terms of letting consenting adults do what they want as long as they're not hurting anybody else. But I'm not really big on it, saying what candidate or what party I belong to. So you can always try me, but usually I don't want to lose half my audience, over a political matter.
Okay. I was trying to ask you a question that wouldn't keep you from doing the math, but I think I failed at that. So if you guys have a question that you want to ask Michael Shackelford, put it in the chat and we will get to it when we can. We are going in order. So first come, first serve. Hopefully you can answer this question while doing the math. What is your opinion on fasting as far as the topic of health concerns?
I'm not a big believer in fasting. And when I go to vegetarian or vegan restaurants and they have like a little bookstore, you see a lot of books on fasting and and there's another term for it, cleansing. I am skeptical about that. I'm not saying it's bad for you, but I don't think it's that helpful either. But we're getting way out of my area, so I don't want to preach too hard about that. But yeah, let's just say if it's for health benefits, I'm kind of skeptical of it. If it's for more of like a spiritual reason, then I could more see doing it. So yeah, that's about as far as I want to take that. But if you want to fast or cleanse, by all means go ahead. But I'm especially skeptical of cleansing. That I think is even more of what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say a scam, but it's just something that is not very beneficial, and I think it's kind of a panacea that people may do it and say they feel great afterwards, but I think that it's all psychological.
Okay.
Okay, so that's as far as I can take that one.
Okay, now we're going to let you work on that so that way you could finish that. While you were working on that, we got just a comment, not a question. Many thanks for your previous answer and recommendation to your great videos. You guys are amazing.
Thank you.
And then I got a question, so I can answer this question while you're working on that. Hi, Heather. Have you ever... Hey, Blia. I think I pronounced it right. Sorry if I didn't. Have you ever been privy to any casino cheating, such as rig slots or video poker machines? Oh, wait, we got an answer.
Sorry to interrupt you. So this is the probability that I get that starting with a pass line bet, that the outcome is the probability that the shooter sevens out is 39.6%.
Okay, good to know.
With the other possibilities being that you crap out, or that you get a 7 or 11 win, or that you get a point win. Okay, so please resume with that question.
Okay, it should be a pretty fast one. Have you ever been privy to any casino cheating, such as rig slots or video poker machines, magnet craps tables, stacked decks in card games, etc.? So I used to work as a casino dealer, And I can guarantee the roulette table does not have any magnets under it. There's no pedals or anything that the dealer is stepping on. Can't believe how many times I've had to like tell people on a roulette table, I am not controlling this. As far as cheating goes, I've had a few people ask me to be involved in their cheating schemes. I've had casino dealers who would cheat while they were working. I've known boxmen on a craps table who had a where it was counterfeit money. Him and his roommate would make the counterfeit money, and then the roommate would come to the craps table and he would just accept it. And they did that for hundreds of thousands. I knew a dealer who would steal from like the tip box, the tote committee. So you do definitely see a lot of that when you are in the dealing industry and when you are actually dealing. I could probably just go on and on and on about it. As far as have I been privy? I have to say no, because all offers that I've gotten to participate in that, I've said no to because I didn't want to lose my gaming license. And, you know, cheating's not good. So, yeah, I thought that would be a lot shorter answer.
Okay, good answer.
Thanks. How about you, Mike?
My answer would be similar, is that I've known situations where an individual dealer was cheating for his confederates at the table, and he may have cheated other players in order to dump money to his friends. Everyone knows about this, but there was a case where the Venetian rigged a drawing in favor of one of their VIP players. And I tend to think that stuff like that goes on a lot more than you think, but it was the Venetian that got caught. But in terms of like rigged video poker games or magnets in roulette, no, you know, it's always things that are just like a shady individual that do it, as opposed to something that was planned at the corporate level.
And wouldn't the Gaming Commission revoke their license if a casino did that on purpose?
Do you mean the rigged drawing?
Yeah.
Yeah, in the case that the Venetian got fined, I believe $500,000 for that. But without naming any names, this story came up in conversation with some big executives at another casino that I won't name. And they said, Mike, this happens a lot. We all do it.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Next question.
Yep.
Okay. This is from G Jr. What is the house edge of blackjack switch, and can it be counted using the high-low count? Thank you and Happy New Year.
Okay, so I absolutely address blackjack switch on my website. Off the top of my head, I don't remember, but I tend to think it's around 1%. Can it be counted with the high-low? Sure. And absolutely. And I think that counting blackjack variants is a good idea, because I think that they don't get watched as carefully as regular blackjack. Now, is the high-low going to help you with the switching decisions? Probably not. But I absolutely think that counting that game is a good idea. But what our shout that I'm sure that there's probably, so in that game, if the dealer gets to 22, then it's a push. I do not know the index numbers for how that affects things. And it may not be as countable as regular blackjack, but again, it may be a better game to count just because there is less heat on that game.
Okay, got it. Okay, our next question comes from Andre. What would be the best card counting strategy? Doesn't matter the difficulty of keeping the count.
Yeah, that's another good one. I think there's something called the Omega that's really complicated. There was the Revere Advanced something. Yeah, but off the top of my head, I don't know. But this would make a good Ask the Wizard question.
From my research for card counting, we found that the best card counting strategy to use is usually the one that's easiest for you, and also the one that is easiest to learn and easiest to use.
I agree with yeah.
There's such a margin of difference between the counting strategies that really what matters is how fast you could do it. So if you use a strategy that you're comfortable with, that's easy to learn, you're going to have a lot easier time than trying to use a strategy that's complicated, that's going to, cause some hiccups and take some time for you to actually try to execute.
I agree with that for, shall we say, the bottom 95% of card counters, but then there's that top 5% that have the ability to just memorize more and keep track of a more complicated, keep track of, how shall I put this, that it's not just the plus minus, but any given rank may be anywhere from like +4 to -4. And for those people, what should they use? Again, off the top of my head, I don't remember, but it's a very good question. And I wrote it down here, and I'm overdue to write another Ask the Wizard column. So look for that. My next one is going to be number 359.
Wow. We should have a celebration when you get to number 500.
I don't think I'm going to get to 500. Because I only write them at a rate of like one or two a month. So let's say that I wrote 18 a year. So I would need to be doing this for another, well, maybe I will. I would need to be doing this for another 7.8 years to get to 500. That would put me at an age of 63 or 64. To be honest, I'm not going to live forever, and there will eventually come the day that I step down from this, and it's probably going to be before my age of 68. But but I'm sure I'll get to 400.
Well, you're definitely going to live forever with the way you climb mountains.
Well, there's going to be a total eclipse cutting through the United States in the year 2045. It's going to cut right over Reno. And by the way, notice how I'm wearing a total eclipse t-shirt. So there's going to be one that's cutting right across the country, including Reno, in 2045. I don't remember the exact date, but I am determined to live long enough to see that.
I have no doubt that you will still be around and you'll still be climbing mountains.
I think so. But yeah, I appreciate your confidence in me. And by the way, speaking of total eclipses, do not forget the one on April 8th, 2024. It's going to it's going to enter the US in Texas and then cut northeast all the way up through Maine. So, do not miss that one. I am telling you over 2 years in advance. So, make any plans that you need to see that one. And it does not count if you're not in the totality path. Then you're not going to see the whole moon cover up the sun. If you just see 99% of it, it's not the same thing. You've got to be in that totality path, which is very narrow.
Have you already started making your reservations?
Okay, most hotels don't take reservations more than a year in advance. So on April 25th, 2023, you better be making your hotel reservations. I plan to see it in Waco, Texas. So if you want to celebrate with me, come on down to Waco, and we will have some sort of a eclipse party the night before. And this is something I feel really strongly about. I don't want to build it up too high, but for me, and I think a lot of people, seeing a total eclipse is like a life-changing experience. And I cannot recommend going highly enough.
Very, very cool. Okay, so our next question comes from Scholster. I have heard many people say that you should never play the first hand of a new blackjack shoe. Is it because you can't determine the count, so the odds are always in favor of the casino?
Okay, first of all, that's nonsense. If you're not counting, then the odds are going to be the same in the first hand, the last hand, and everything in between. And even if you are counting, why not play that hand? Just make a small bet on it just to test the waters in a neutral count. But yeah, there is nothing especially bad about the first hand. So absolutely, if you're playing, then go ahead and play that hand.
Cool. Okay, so our next question comes from, I think that's C. Cheryl. I haven't been back to Vegas since the pandemic. Do the table games still have the clear dividers up between the seats?
I haven't seen those.
Nope, I haven't seen them either.
I think I haven't checked everywhere, but the attitude here in Vegas seems to be, okay, wear a mask, but beyond that, we're open for business.
Yeah.
And, just let the germs and the chips fall where they may.
Yeah, technically they're supposed to be wearing a mask on the casino floor, but you don't have to wear a mask if you're drinking or if you're smoking, which is everybody in the casino. So nobody's wearing a mask. So,
yeah, and it's not very strongly enforced. Like the other day, I went to the casino and I forgot to bring one, and I walked all the way from the parking garage to the cashier, which was a long walk, to ask for a mask, and not one person said on the way, "Hey, where's your mask?"
Yeah. Okay, next question. This is from Kendrick. What do you think about bet one if you press? What do you think about bet one? And if you win, press 1 unit, then go back to 1 and repeat. I think he's talking about slots.
Yeah, so in a lot of slot machines, it's no longer that you choose your denomination, but you go up in how much credits that you're betting per line. Mm-hmm. And it will generally have a choice of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 10. And that's how much you're betting per line, but you're forced to bet every line. So it might be like betting 50 cents, $1, $1.50, $2, $2.50. But the odds are the same in most cases, no matter how much you're betting, like what happened in the previous hands. So that strategy is neither going to help you nor hurt you. And before anyone suggests me, yes, there are exceptions to that in games like Golden Egypt and Ocean Magic, where the odds in one game do affect the next game, where you might get rewarded for something that happens in the last game for the next game to keep you playing it. But in general, the odds are always the same. So I would just file this as a betting system, which neither help you nor hurt you.
Good advice.
Thanks.
No problem. Okay, next question comes from HP. How are people beating slot machines? If a slot machine is must hit by, is it just random whether it hits at the must hit by number, or can it hit in any number?
Okay, I could talk about this a long time, but for those who don't understand the question, there's a lot of slot machines that will have a jackpot that's progressive, and it will say this must hit by this certain amount. And let's just say, for the sake of argument, that it's $500. That in most cases, let's say the jackpot is right now at $450 and it must hit by 500, then there's an equal chance it could hit anywhere between 450 and 500. And that can be programmed various ways, but for mathematical purposes, it's like the game chose when that jackpot was going to hit in advance from somewhere between the lowest possible value and the highest possible value, according to a uniform distribution. Now there's an exception with, I believe it's, what's a slot maker? I'm going to switch to another page, but there's one slot maker that deliberately holds back the must hit by jackpots until it's nearly at the must hit by point, which I think is very, I don't want to use the C word for cheating, but I think it's very deceptive and it shouldn't be allowed. So here we go. Slot machines, advanced topics. Yeah, Ainsworth. These are the ones that hold back the jackpot until it's nearly ready to hit.
Hey, we get a nice up close shot of your shirt.
Oh, thanks. Okay. But yeah, so watch out for those Ainsworth slots. Most of these must hit by jackpots are on, I believe it's Aristocrat games, and those are perfectly legitimate and fair in the way they do it.
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute. Maybe it's AGS. No. I take that back, and I apologize to Ainsworth. Ainsworth played just fine. Again, I'm sorry. It is AGS that does this rigging of the jackpot that does where they don't hit until it's near the jackpot point.
We got an in-show correction.
Yeah, no, and I'm just reading this right now. You can read about this at wizardofodds.com/games/slots/mystery-jackpot.ainsworth.
Very cool.
There we go. I'm glad I caught that.
Me too. Okay, so our next question, it's actually for me. I'm a girl, so I got a Heather comment too. I love your hairstyles. Thank you. And I think you have such great taste in every way. Aww. Okay, now you have a fan. I'm a fan of you. Thank you.
That was nice of her.
That was really cool.
Yeah, I like your hair too.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, so this one is from Scott. Oh, wait. We got a Betty White question. Betty White did a game show, $1 Million Password with Regis, and it only ran for 8 episodes. Have you ever seen it?
No, I haven't. I think she was on Hollywood Squares a lot, wasn't she?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm sure she was great on that show, but I never saw it.
Okay. And then Scott says, after all of your years of gambling, would you say you were up or down?
Okay, yeah, I would definitely say I'm up. The vast majority of the gambling that I have done has been some kind of an advantage play. And, I don't want to say that I have made a lot of money doing it, but, and I haven't kept the best of records, but yeah, I can confidently say that I'm up, but it was a lot of work. And I did it more so for the challenge than the actual money.
Challenge completed?
If another good advantage play comes along, I'm happy to entertain it. But last year, I did hardly any gambling at all, and it's not that there's not advantage play opportunities, but they're just not worth my time. You're usually dealing with very thin advantages, and nobody tells me anything good because they're afraid that I'm going to blab it, which. So, yeah.
Which is why you should always watch your videos, right? If you guys are watching this is why you should watch those videos. Okay.
Next question.
Next question. I got another question. Wow. I feel really special. Thank you. Okay. Question for Heather. How do dealers flash whole cards when dealing or pulling it out of an automated shuffler? It's much harder to flash your card when you're pulling it out of an automated shuffler versus if you were dealing a single or double deck. Usually dealers have to worry about flashing their cards on a single or double deck when they're putting the whole card underneath the up card. If they swing their hand out way too wide, then the person on third base can see it if they're right-handed. If they're left-handed, the person on first base can see it. And sometimes you could do this without even realizing it. We had a dealer who just started. She was a brand new dealer, really cute little girl. And she didn't realize that she was flashing her hole card to the person on third base. And one of the players saw it, took advantage of this, made thousands and thousands of dollars from the table. And then she ended up being fired because they thought they were in cahoots together, when in fact she was just doing the procedure poorly as a dealer.
Yeah, I used to be a 3-card poker hole carder, and I know that hole carders will go anywhere in the country to play against the soft dealer.
Yeah.
And yeah, that definitely does happen.
Yeah, they're looking for weak dealers. That's why it's really good to be a strong dealer. That's why it's good to have it's good to practice. It's good to have strong policies and procedures. Oh my God, are we doing another magic trick? I want to see this.
This is both a magic trick and a cheating trick. So I was just ordering the cards. You see all the red ones on top, and then you see all the black ones. Okay, watch this. I'm going to give the cards a shuffle. And you can see that they are still in exactly the same order. And I know that wasn't the best demonstration of that, but I just thought I would show that off to you guys.
That's still a pretty good demonstration.
Cheating and magic. So a cheating dealer will do that. Is he will, first of all, he will put, like, let's say he's playing blackjack. He will say, put an ace on the top and then do a false shuffle. He might even order the cards in such a way that he might control like the first 10 cards in the deck, do a false shuffle so he can maintain that, and then give blackjacks to his confederates.
Yeah. One of the biggest tips we used to have as casino dealers was, if you were a casino dealer and you knew magic, or you knew magic tricks, or you knew how to do any of that, false shuffling, you do not tell anyone. You don't tell your coworkers, you don't tell your boss, you do not tell anyone about it, because you will be in so much trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, it looks like it's 3:57. Do we have enough time to do one more question?
Sure.
Cool. I'll let you pick from the next 3 questions that we have. We have one about casinos being ethical. We have a craps question, and we have analyzing games. Which one would you like?
Let's try the craps question.
Okay, craps question. What are the odds of making a 4 and 10 as the point, and what percentage do you have as the favorite on the don't pass bet after the come out?
Well, it's easy to say that the probability that the point will be a 4 or a 10 is 1 in 6. What is your advantage on the don't pass after the come out roll? That I don't know off the top of my head. And it would take me a few minutes to calculate by hand, but I think that makes a good Ask the Wizard question. I just wrote it down. So I see we still have 2 minutes. So let's hear about the analyzing games question.
Okay, so this is from HP. What do you use to analyze how to beat casino table games? Just Excel, or do you use a programming language?
Okay, well, first of all, beating casino games is not my emphasis. I mostly just write about the casino games under the way that they're supposed to be played, how you should play them, what are the odds against you. And my audience, I'm catering towards that middle 90% of the bell curve. However, if you're in the top 5% and you think and you want to be an advantage player, I do touch on that a little bit here and there, but that's not my emphasis. But in terms of analyzing anything, if it's easy, I usually use Excel. But if it's more complicated, like blackjack, then I'm going to use C++.
Okay, another good reason to know that language.
All right, let's hear the ethics question real quick.
Okay, really, really quick. Casinos are unethical, period. I.e., early shuffle ups on plus counts, 6 to 5 blackjack games, and continuously shuffled machines or cards.
Well, that wasn't a question. I know that there's a lot of casino haters out there, especially advantage players, but I'm not one of them. You know, like I said earlier in the show, that I have libertarian leanings, and if a casino says here are our blackjack rules, we pay 6 to 5 on a blackjack, the player has every right to not play that.
Yeah.
So as long as it's fair and the casinos are following their own rules, then in my opinion, it's all good, and it's on the player to know what's a good value and what's not.
Right. Especially when they offer you 3 to 2 games right next to the 6 to 5 games. They offer you hand shuffled, decks right next to the continuous shuffle machine. So you have that option.
Right. And now I will say that in terms of early shuffling and good counts, that I would say is unethical. And I don't think that the Gaming Control Board here in Nevada would allow that in general. For example, I don't think that blackjack machines are allowed to do that. But yeah, there is some unethical stuff that does go on, but I think that's true about any business. So that is as far as I'm going to take that one. And
now, isn't it the case that if you think a casino is doing anything unethical, you can contact the Nevada Gaming Commission and let them know, and then they'll look into it?
Yep. Yeah, you can contact them over a dispute over $1. There's no minimum. Yeah. I think they do a really good job, and
they're really easy to get a hold of. You just, Google what the phone number is, call the phone number, and you have a person that you're talking to in less than 5 minutes. They are really, really easy to contact, and they're really easy to communicate with as well.
Right. And also you have the right that if you have a complaint and you can't resolve it there, you can say, I am taking this to the Gaming Control Board. Please contact them. And the casino is, if I'm not mistaken, supposed to. And furthermore, if the dispute is a matter of $500 or more, they have to call them. The player doesn't even need to ask. Now, this is something that I think the casinos don't actually do, but they are supposed to.
But the player has the option of contacting them directly.
Yep. So, and if you were to do that, I think an agent would come down there within an hour and listen to both sides, and then they would make a determination later.
Yeah,
they would do this even if it were a dispute over just, say, $1.
They're really good about that.
Yeah. Now, I used to have the opinion that they tended to favor the casino too often, but they're a lot better now, and I think that they are pretty fair.
Yep. Now, if we didn't get to your guys' questions, we are doing another live stream in 2 weeks, I believe. Is that correct? When is the next live stream?
That is correct. So January 20th.
And you guys, the sooner you put your questions in, the more likely it is that we'll get to them. The later questions, it really just depends on timing, if we have enough time or not.
Mm-hmm.
So when is the next live stream?
January 20th.
At 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Yep.
Awesome. Very cool.
Okay.
Well, good to see you.
Yep. Nice to see you too, Heather. I like the outfit. Thank you for producing the show, and thanks to all the audience members who came along and for your questions and participation. And I will see you guys all in 2 weeks.
Have a good one.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.